Let's let these guys in.
Oh shoot! You
Home
know what? They
source
just got
in
on.
the
Can I call you when I'm
house.
done with it, Kevin?
Yeah, let's
They are
call him back
live.
Call you
later.
right back.
Yeah, call him right back because he's on the Solar Pulse podcast with Josh and Joe. What's up? We got Austin Anderson in the house and Zach Brown with Homesourced. This is a virtual assistance, do it for yourself platform. Been killing it for years. I've been knowing Austin for years and Zach now for a little while. Guys, thanks for being on, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, our pleasure.
Appreciate you having us.
Yeah, you guys know Josh King?
Familiar with him.
How we
Don't
doing?
know him personally.
There you go. Zach, are we going to be able to see your beautiful face, or I'm seeing a gray screen?
Oh, is it? Am I not on?
No, unless you're
so.
invisible, but
In a really dark room.
Wow. I can see myself great. And
maybe just turn the camera on.
The camera's on.
Oh shit!
All right. It might be recording in the back end. I guess we'll see in the final edit. He's muted now. Anyway, what's going on, Austin?
Not much. How are you, Josh?
I'm doing well. What do you got in the back? It looks like you have a little workshop back there.
Oh, this is all the stuff my wife doesn't want in the house. Goes in the office. So
metal sheets.
Mostly. Yeah. So the walls. When we built out our office, we used metal roofing and corrugated like plastic to put LEDs through. So when you turn the lights off, you can change the colors and stuff like that.
Ah, cool. Yep. It's a nice industrial look.
Yeah. It works.
Yo, you know what? I butchered what Homesource does exactly, Austin. So before we even start, while we're waiting for Zach to show his pretty face here, why don't you kind of let us know the rundown of what Homesourced is? And I know it's like more than a third of the industry is using it, so everybody should know what it is. But why don't you give us a little brief description?
To some degree, it's probably good that some people don't. We try not to take credit for what others do, right? We are an outsourcing company. But we try to stay true to our name, Homesourced. That name is there in particular to try to redefine outsourcing. So you're trying to bring something home instead of outsourcing it, right? Mm-hmm. Same with our logo, part of the house. Bring it into the house. You're not taking it out. When I first started looking into outsourcing, there was reoccurring themes with problems with transparency and control. So when we engage with people, we're somewhere in between a staffing company and an outsourcing company, more like an independent contractor in ways too. So when our clients are engaging with us, we don't actually limit conversations, topics. They can talk to agents about compensation. They have full control of shifts, delegated tasks, everything. So we try to focus on enablement, but from time to time, we'll get close enough to clients that we try to help them with operations to whatever degree we can. Just kind of depends on what their need or demand is.
And Zach, you're there, right?
Yep. Can you guys see me now?
No.
Oh, such a shame.
Well, you know why?
My wife wouldn't even say it's a good mug to see.
We gotta let everybody know, why you're in a whole different country, right? You're actually in Belize, so tell us about that. How's it out there?
Belize is an awesome country. I kind of fell in love with it a long time ago in traveling with my wife and other friends. So I'm in the high teens of times that I've been here to Belize, and half of that is probably thanks to Homesourced and our ability to grow here. We originally came down here with the attitude of bilingual, and quickly figured out that the kind of English spoken word, not to say either the Philippines or Belize. When people say well, I don't know, how's their English? It's the number one language in both countries. Road signs, schools, everything's the same. So at the end of the day, how's your accent acceptance? And we filter through that and make sure that that's good for their appropriate job and such. But Yeah, I love Belize. I love the melting pot that it is. I don't think that there's a race, creed, color, accent that is one way or the other, and no one knows the difference. And um, everything's cool.
Whether you're in Belize or the Philippines, it's hard to get good reception. So
Dang it.
Zach, have you spent much time in San Pedro before?
Yes. Yeah. Have
Nice.
you?
Yes. Does that look familiar? Palapas.
Let me. Oh yeah. So that's more Middle San Pedro.
Yeah.
Well,
And a friend of mine,
but
shout out Haley, owns Drift
you
In.
don't know north. You don't know north. You don't know north until
By
you go
San
to
Juan.
Margaritaville. It's at the 13th mile, and that's a long way up. But yeah, I'm familiar with what you're saying.
Yeah. Way north. Way north. Yeah, I've spent a considerable amount of time in San Pedro and Key Cocker. I absolutely love Belize. It's an amazing country.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I think their state bird is the mosquito on the north.
See the dry humor, Josh?
Yeah. Yeah, that lines up. I'm blessed with blood that mosquitoes don't like, but there's certainly a lot of little bugs around Belize. But you got to put up with that if you're living in a tropical paradise like Belize, especially on the islands.
So why is Belize such a great place to have this platform out there, Josh and Zach?
Maybe I'll take it first. A really good question, Moose, because some of it we didn't understand first. Historically, with the kind of the onset or previous company that Austin and other partners started doing lead creation, developed some good relationships here. As that kind of dwindled or we lost interest in it to some degree, we knew that the bilingual was alive and well there in Belize. The unintended consequence that's actually really cool is the fact that the English speaking spoken language is actually super awesome because we're coming from a place that only got their independence from Great Britain in 1981. So even though it's surrounded by Guatemala and Mexico, probably most of the more kind of native accents would be rather than saying 1, 2, 3, it might be 1, 2, 3, which is awesome for our clients. Even places that maybe they're kind of, I don't want to call it a racist thing, but maybe they're really finite about the way that they want their agent speaking. Honestly, from a customer speaking basis, they can't tell where they're from. And we don't try to hide it either. So they're happy to say, hey, yeah, I'm here at Police. But that's kind of a cool thing. And also desire to work. Really, the population is less than 500,000 people, and so still being a third world country, the opportunity for growth is awesome, and the desire to have sustainable and reliable work environment is also awesome for our agents, and so that's kind of the secret sauce. Don't tell everybody.
To back up what Zach and Austin are saying about Belizeans having a really good accent, I'll tell a story. The first time I ever went to Belize, so I was actually going over land from the Mexican to Belize border. And you know, in Mexico, whatever, people try to sell you stuff on the street. So this guy came up to me and he's trying to sell me something, and he sounds like he's from, I don't know what people in Illinois sound like, but, American. There's like this tiny little thing, but I'm like, oh, it's American. But then I was really confused. He's trying to sell me something on the street. He's like, oh no, yeah, I just, I'm American. I don't know. And he's pulling a little game with me. I didn't buy anything, but I'd never been to Belize. I'm traveling Central America. I'm going down to South America. This is a Latin country. They all have Latin accents. No. Belize is so unique. It's the only, like, I guess, what would the technical term be? But as much more of a Caribbean vibe, right? It's like 50-50. I don't know if that number is accurate, Latin and Caribbean, but everyone speaks almost bloody perfect English. And I went into Belize and everyone sounded like him. I'm like, oh, he's pulling a fast one just because of how good his English is. So that's the first experience I had of the Belizean accent. It is, and I'm really good with accents. I could like barely tell there was something there. So it is a really good spot if you're able to line up with these guys and grab some really good assistants or sales guys or whatever they've got for you, because their accent is solid, surprisingly good. Would you guys agree with me on that?
Yeah,
No,
definitely.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And
That was initially our
I think
interest
I went
for
in
it, was just to figure out how to drive performance on lead generation, what Zach was saying earlier. We've pulled out of that sphere quite a bit and shut down our call center in the last couple of months, but that was the initial draw for sure.
Yeah. Awesome place. I can't say more nice things about it. Awesome.
So what's up with the Philippines
Well-
then? I see you guys saying Belize. What's good about the Philippines, guys? See, you guys are doing both places, right?
Yeah, for the Philippines, it's definitely standardized. So it's a little easier for registration, to get set up, to have a corporate office set up. Lease agreements are easy for foreigners. Plenty of people have been doing outsourcing there for the last 30 to 40 years too. So it's very ingrained into the government there. If you looked at the population compared to the number of people that are employed in the outsourcing industry, it's somewhere around 14 million and their population of 130 million. So it's kind of like a country that never sleeps as opposed to a city that doesn't sleep, right? It's that entire country is always going because so much of their commerce is really based on outsourcing on like a US standard time.
That makes sense.
Philippines is awesome. I dabbled with the Philippines back in the day, 2016, 2017. This is in Australia though. The number one thing I remember from ever working, we still have a lot of Filipinos working for us, is their work ethic. Like that shocked me at their work ethic and their willingness to put the hours in and learn things, and their ability to engage and show up to meetings on time relative to a Western worker. It almost made me depressed. It almost made me realize, like, wow, we are all lazy bastards in the West. These guys have such good work ethic. It's difficult for me to, even if cost is not an issue anymore, to choose a Western worker that knows their stuff versus a Filipino that knows their stuff. Like it is miles different. Philippines, I find.
No, definitely is the case. And I talked to a lot of people about the difference that you would see in the economies, right? With the US, we're seeing average income go down almost, I think the average household is like over 2 earners now, if I'm not mistaken. And in the Philippines, you're seeing a difference, right? Where you're having less people that have to work, higher average incomes, more people that are owning houses, more people that are owning cars. And so the economies are completely inverse when you're looking at it. And so there's a lot of momentum that's getting built overseas in India, Pakistan, Philippines, anywhere that's outsourcing really, right? South Africa, there's a big movement going on for outsourcing right now too. So there's a lot of different countries, but anytime you see an economy flourishing and they're putting in some sort of outsourcing perspective, it's likely because their economy is booming. When we're there, we have a roof deck restaurant that the agents can go out and do whatever on, or just use credit to buy food with instead of just their money, right? And when you go there at night, you'll probably see 30 to 40 different skyscrapers getting built. So it's just raining sparks all night long. Oh, there you go. There's the camera. And
I had to go back to my room.
Yeah. So it's fun when you can be part of something like that. And, it's difficult where on the other side, you have counterparts in the US that we're trying to figure out how to support, to build, maintain job entry or entry level jobs that maybe aren't as desired from a US employee, right? So it's a little different that way, but I don't know. It's fun.
Are you
Well,
seeing
and
any outsourcing in Egypt at all?
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, Egypt
Yeah,
too.
because
Yeah,
I
Egypt
saw
definitely.
even what's that?
I'm seeing a lot of sales groups come out of Egypt, so
Yes.
they're
Oh
pretty. It
man,
seems like their culture is pretty straightforward and a little more on the
it
aggressive side.
it is. They are. I've said this so many times. The best sales guys I've ever met. I lived in Egypt and the Middle East in 2017, and number one, everyone had outsourced sales jobs, right? And they were making
Yep.
money like crazy because they're making U.S. dollars in Egypt. So a little story again, just because it relates so much to this. I was at first day in Egypt again, and walking by, and this guy just walks by me and says, "Oh, you walk like an Egyptian," and he starts striking up a conversation with me. Now this is 2017, but I'd still been in sales. So I'm like, this guy's trying to sell me, right?
wait,
But he was
that wasn't a song.
walk like an Egyptian.
Okay,
No, he literally
I had to say it.
he said, "You walk like an Egyptian." And so he starts talking to me, and I'm like, all right, let's see what happens. My first day, I might make a friend. He says, my family over here owns this whole building complex, everything. Come by any time. He starts walking away. Actually, you want to come now? You want to have a cigarette and a tea? I'm like, okay, whatever. I sit down. He says, no, I don't want to sell you anything. Anyway, 10 minutes later, he's signed my mother's and sister's names on a bunch of Egyptian scrolls and starts asking for money. I didn't have any cash, walks me to the ATM, gets cash out. Like their systems are dialed in. They're very straightforward. So yeah, no, the Egyptians can sell. I've really tried to dive into that and see if I might have a chat with you guys after if you guys have connections in Egypt, but lost so many opportunity when outsourcing to good sales cultures and work ethic culture.
Well,
Yep.
I think Josh, the main takeaway there is kind of perception, and I guess we get rattled with a little bit of perception of what outsourcing is. I always kind of refer to it as kind of a little bit of a swear word, because in our case, we're definitely more in and if I haven't beforehand, I'll apologize for my raspy voice because I've had a cough. Um, but perceptions of outsourcing is to with your time in Egypt, everybody thinking of Egypt as pyramids and sand, but it's a green, lush, river driven area that is amazing, right? Same thing with outsourcing. That not all that is created equal. And so, what we really try to aim to do is more employee placement more than anything. And it's kind of what defines us and makes us different. So, how to make the geography liken into our model, how it's different. So,
Yeah. There's so much opportunity around the world for business owners to access super solid talent, regardless of what task they're doing. And we're in this bubble in North America where we think the rest of the world is sand and pyramids, right? And it limits us. It's a horrible misunderstanding, but it's also a limiting belief that your environment is the only resource you can grab. It's 2024. I mean, I'm a big virtual guy, so getting these resources and tapping into things that are potentially better than what's around you, even though the people around you have said, no, we're the best. You can't get any better talent than right here. And I don't know if that's true anymore to an extreme extent.
yeah, and I appreciate you saying that because it's not necessarily this like giant globalist mentality. Um, Austin knows this. We've been friends for a long time. Long time. Um, but I was that guy. It's like I wouldn't even shop at a Walmart with a self checkout because it's like takes jobs away from the American people, which is kind of funny because I've always been self employed, hired thousands of people, and I saw the other side where people don't want to work, and in our cases, we bring those jobs to the table in an environment that not only do they want it, but specifically where we're not just like call center mentality. We're bringing people that are, I'd say, career minded. So that's it's pretty refreshing. I think Austin. I think the newest statistic over the 3 year average was what's our employee retention? Is it 90?
Annually, we're around 92% on our employees.
So
Wow.
that would say they're happy where they're working. A lot of that is the environment that under Austin's direction and kind of the stones that he's set forward is keeps them around. We've also this is kind of a joke because I say we had a clinic that had free healthcare. We closed it, which was sad, but we only closed it because we opened up our own hospital, complete with radiology and minor surgery and overnight care and
Wow.
everything else. And that's good for our agents, their kids, and mom and dad too, being multi-generational living. So it's pretty dang cool.
Well, there's a big misunderstanding on it too, is it being a debate or in some sort of political sphere? Because if you look up online just how many jobs are offshored or how many jobs are outsourced from the US annually, or how many are currently outsourced, you won't find a consistent number at all. The more research I've kind of done, I've landed and settled with around 44 million. But when you compare how many jobs we outsource to our unemployment rate, the number of jobs that we outsource is significantly higher than the national unemployment rate. So it's funny when people actually get into the debate about what you're actually doing and if you're actually helping a US economy or if you're hurting it. Because at the end of the day, there's so much more demand than even what Americans can supply themselves. It has to be met somehow, and so it's funny when people actually try to make it a topic. My favorite story, when I first went to the Philippines, it's funny too if you associate it with political parties, is the first thing I did in the Philippines was do political fundraising for the Republican Party, specifically the RNC, even though I'm a registered Democrat. And so it's like, it's funny how a lot of people don't realize how blurred the lines are with commerce and fundraising. Geopolitics make it even way more confusing, right? And when it starts coming into some sort of debate that one side or the other is trying to represent, it really should almost be a non-issue because everybody's doing it to a large extent. A lot of people just don't want to talk about it.
Of course. Yeah, that's politics, baby.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and
Exactly.
that's why I'd also tell you that Austin's more of an independent than Democrat. Just going to throw that out there. But we can talk about that offline. But
I'll be whatever you want me to
but
be.
no,
I have no problem. Either way.
no. But having said that, I think there. It's all scope of lens kind of perspective. So,
Well,
um,
it's definitely going mainstream. I can tell you that. What you guys taking over the solar industry? Zach, you said almost over a third of the solar industry is utilizing Homesourced. Was that right?
yeah, when we're statistically looking at it, yeah, it's over 30% of all the installs that happened in the last calendar year. Um, and it's kind of a weird line to say when we say our people. We bring our clients on that they have their agents. So collectively, those are our people, right? Because we're managing them offshore. Um, Over 30% of the residential installs were touched by our people in some way, somehow. So I always say we don't sell it and we don't install it. We do everything in between. And we have clients that use us for one part or our entire suite of goods. And that's case by case. But nevertheless, we've had our hand on all that. And Austin, just on proposals, this guy's a genius, so he'll say it off the top of his head. But just proposals alone, how many last year did we crank out on behalf of ourselves or software companies or private orgs?
Yeah, we did over 700,000 last year.
So
Wow.
so the bandwidth side of it um, is probably only bragging rights on a call like this. But it comes in best as our credibility on proposals, CAD design, even permitting. Take a myriad of different topics, but we're not the first ones to experience Illinois or Dade County in Florida that people have definitely struggled with. We know it. We know it well. We don't only have people that do it and do it on behalf of other companies. We have experts in that area that oversee those people to make sure that they're doing it and doing it well. Like, I kind of joke because I'm not in the sales industry. I really, thanks to a lot of what Homesource is and the infrastructure that Austin has built, I'm kind of an order taker. But in order taking, I can honestly say, I can go to anyone and say, what's your biggest pain point? And since I said it out loud, like Miami-Dade County, I could say, bring it. Let us solve your biggest pain point. And I wish I could name drop some of the biggest players in the industry that was our shoe in.
Drop it, baby.
That's a massive differentiator, right? Because let's use that word outsource. Ooh. When people think that, they just think even if it's just a pass off, you're just finding randoms and lining them up. But what you're saying is one of the biggest, for me, the biggest differentiator is it's also the knowledge, because someone who comes in that has no idea how to do permitting in something over here, you might be able to come in and bring some knowledge and people that have experience in that and give them resources. So maybe people that have been doing it for a while, they're looking for a new gig. Some guy in the Philippines who's been crushing permits in southern Florida for 2-3 years. You line him up with a company that just moved into Florida, and that person actually has more knowledge about the permitting process than the bloody team that's hiring him. So that's a massive differentiator between the outsourcing guys.
Yeah, and Josh, just because you brought it up, I'll bring this up. That was an awesome learning lesson, being totally outside of this industry before. Awesome. Was when he asked me, he's like, do you think as U.S. residents, we're familiar with outsourcing? And I'm like, well, there's a lot of education that has to happen there. And Josh, I'd almost assume, because I don't know if you're close to Moose. Are you in California?
No, I'm in Colombia.
Oh, dang
South
it.
America.
Okay, so this point was being made to Moose, but then, so California, you have Silicon Valley, right? Why do you think that Silicon Slopes is thriving in Utah?
Same name.
And you may not know what it is, but like Adobe and a bunch of the big players are there. So, moral of the story is outsourcing. And Austin made this apparent to me that I was like, oh my gosh, outsourcing has existed for a long dang time, and it could be California to Utah. And what's the difference between California to Utah? Because labor is cheaper, right? Than California to Belize or California to the Philippines. Or having said that, what's the difference between Moose's office and a wall that separates you? If you're still sitting there clicking and clacking on your keyboard to communicate back and forth, it's all the same. So outsourcing isn't new. So there's a barrier to be broken down to say, okay, no, wait, I get it. We have been doing that. And I think in my time here, like, I've seen such a massive change just in that recollection of going, oh yeah, maybe I thought that was going to be a lot harder. Maybe I thought it was going to be different. So
yeah, I mean, my past 10 years, 11 years in solar, the majority of it has been towards remote processes and virtual sales. And I've traveled also all over the world. As soon as that barrier breaks for you in your mind, that Pandora's box is open and you see this blue ocean of opportunity that hasn't been hit yet, right? You stop seeing a team as a group of people in an office. It could still be, but you start seeing it just as a group of people that are connected. And it's ridiculous to say in 2024 that me having a Zoom with Joe right now, I mean, I'm in Colombia, but let's say I'm in the next city over, right? Me and Joe are a team over Zoom, a city away, or even in the same office. But me and a group of awesome overseas guys that are crushing their job on Zoom is not the same type of team. It doesn't make sense. But there's a barrier for a lot of people that they still haven't been able to click on for that, right? And they're keeping themselves in their small little environments.
And fact check, you're in Colombia, I'm in Belize. Geographically, we're closer together than you and Moose.
Much closer. There you go.
Come on over.
Exactly.
I'll buy you dinner.
Where are you right now? Are you in San Pedro?
I'm in mainland Belize on
Okay.
the northern side. Orange Walk Town is our mainstay, but we have also remote agents scattered across the country.
Well, I'll see you in San Pedro. We'll go to the islands.
Well, I see that, but then I'll also show you a bunch of really awesome things about the rest of the country.
If you can convince me of mainland, I'm down. A friend of mine owns a hotel in San Pedro and also really close to the Guatemalan border, and she says it's beautiful. But I'm a beach guy. So.
Yeah, San Ignacio. Yeah, I'm a beach guy too. I will leave this trip without having any beach snorkeling, scuba diving adventures, which I hate. But Austin told me to put my head down and work, and he wouldn't let me live it down.
Side tangent. You're a diver then, I'm guessing? Sounds like?
Yep, absolutely.
I got my, I don't know if you can see the dive flag. I got my rescue certification and a tattoo in Belize in San Pedro. Scuba Steve, dive shop right on the beaches of San Pedro.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's amazing. So, Moose, where's your tattoo?
Yeah,
where's yours?
Here.
Okay.
Tell us about your travels, Joe.
I'm a big scuba diver. No, I never actually. Actually, I did with Josh. First time ever. We've been scuba diving. It's freaking amazing.
Yeah, in the Dominican. Didn't you go diving in the Dominican? Nice.
Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah. But let's get back. Let's get back to.
So, I would formally invite both of you guys.
All right.
One of my favorite people in the entire world, and again, I'll probably give Austin credit for it, but a person on staff that's one of my favorite humans on the face of the earth is Phidias in the Philippines. Not only is he our runner, maybe known as Fixer, because he's just such a personable guy. He can talk to any of the government entities and smooth out, explain, whatever, because it's always, I mean, it's not as simple as just mailing a check and everything. Has some negotiation. But Phidias is also a dive master. And as our clients and everyone else comes out, happy to bring people out, bring them out diving. He's never asked for a dime. Just solid dude. So
love it.
Josh and Joe, you guys have open invite to meet us in the Philippines. And I don't have the red carpet here in Belize yet, but yeah, love to dive with you guys.
See, Joe, you might think this is a relevant conversation, but it is super relevant for what we're talking about here, right? Like, I'm serious. All I'm trying to do these days is push people to see that there's a bigger world out there and more opportunity and things for growth. So,
well, yeah. Josh,
have you looked at the statistics on how many people travel out of the U.S. in their lifetime?
Well, don't depress me. Is it just ridiculously low?
It's 3 out of 10 that have been outside of the U.S. to at least Canada or Mexico. And then it's 1 out of 10 Americans in their lifetime travel outside of the U.S. further than Canada or Mexico.
But how many people want to travel outside the United States?
That's a good question.
They would want to if they realize. Well, okay. I thought you went the other way. I thought you were talking about people don't want to leave. But yeah, no, they want to. Sure.
Well,
I think a lot of
it's interesting. It's debatable, that's for sure.
Yeah, because I definitely came in as the stupid, bald, fat white guy in the Philippines, thinking there's a lot of people, as I started understanding, that had never gone off the island of Cebu that we're in, and you can see with your own eyes the islands that surround, and some have never been on those soils. Um, as we had different excursions and different things, and we, from a management perspective, always try to create opportunities where agents can get on some island hopping excursions and such. But I thought the buy-in would be like loading boats like crazy. Not necessarily. And so that was kind of a little fact check for me, you know. So it's, yeah, pretty interesting to see.
Gotcha. You know, you said you're primarily in solar, and over, a third you're talking about, but that could be great, obviously, having the whole industry, but also I'm sure it could be bad too when the industry takes the tank, and then all of a sudden you
Yep.
got to, deal with all those
Yep.
headaches. Do you want to talk a little bit about that and how you deal with the downs as you go with, obviously, with the ups?
Yeah,
Yeah, I would
we've never seen any down in the solar industry.
ever,
Let's
never,
go.
ever, never,
No.
ever have we did. This
Austin, I'll let
last
you take us.
year,
I'll let you take it
You're in
from
the
here, so
solar
I don't say
coaster,
anything
baby.
rude.
You're in the solar coaster. There's
yeah,
no way out of it. Sorry.
yeah, it was interesting too because I think we got the climax of the solar coaster in the last probably 12 months. It feels like for us, but we lost just in the last 6 months alone. So December until now, 9.5% of our total account receivables from 2023 is in bankruptcy court right now. We currently have 15 groups that we have cases out for, and they're not cases like that are meant to be civil or disputable, right? But it's more like getting in line for bankruptcy court to know who we are, that we do have a debt with this particular person that declared bankruptcy. And the prior five years before that, we only had $40,000 in total on like maybe 20 million. And so we saw about 900,000, just over 900,000 this last year that just disappeared because people had to close their doors, right? But it was even more interesting to me because I don't feel like anybody screwed us. I don't feel like we got let down. The groups that I guess we were left holding the bag for really people that we've worked with for 3, 4, and one of them even 5 years. And so it hit so fast and so sudden, and it seemed like everybody was trying to keep pace. Then all of a sudden people started shutting doors, right? But yeah, last year, we actually grew from 49 clients to 87 clients in 2023. However, we only netted like 50 jobs from that. So we had to downsize and lay off 530 people. But in total, we ended up placing 590 new jobs. So we had it on both sides where we had people that were grasping at straws, desperate to figure out how to save their margin, save their business, and they were quickly moving to us. And then we also people that were well established that were dealing with changes in financing and interest rates and pipelines not filling up like they thought they would, right? And they're closing their doors because they're forced to, not because anybody's mad at you or you did something wrong. And it's been really I'd say it's been hard to navigate for a lot of our company, but for me it's actually brought me a lot closer to people I've worked with for a long time. And it seems like the conflict has really kind of pushed cooperation and some level of innovation to a degree. So the groups that we have been dealing with the greatest losses are the ones that are actually right by our side, trying to figure out how to rebuild, how to create something new, whether it's new companies, if it's affiliate programs, if it's financing products, everything. So it's been kind of cool how it's actually built a lot in a way, and we're starting to see that come to fruition now. But it was really hard for us to deal with it because most solar companies talked about how they shrank. We actually didn't shrink. We grew revenue wise by about 50%, but I had us projected for 160% growth. So we had like a 10,000 square foot space that we leased out, dropped $400,000 on just for the space alone. We never grew into it. And so it was just kind of funny that, we saw it and we saw growth in ways of interest and people wanting to come on board with us, but virtually all of our clients downsized. And I think a bigger problem that we had is that we had, I don't know if you'd say overrepresentation in California, but I think everybody for a long time has felt that California is a safe bet, right? And so we kind of casually went that way too, even though we're a company based in Utah and our corporate office is in the Philippines and we have a satellite office in Belize. Like, I think last year, or I guess I'd say the end of 2022, we probably had 60 to 70% of our staff was California based, whether it was supporting software or supporting an EPC. It's a lot more intentionally diversified now because I don't know, the first group that actually helped us out was Infinity Energy. And we started the business with a $10,000 grant from them. And they were like, here's $10,000. If you guys can help us, great. If you can't, it's just a $10,000 loss, no harm, no foul. And it built off of that, right? So it's funny because we've also got to see the changes in attitudes of, fat and happy to really kind of scrimping and trying to figure out where, the next round of funding's coming from. But we're definitely right, I would say, in the forefront with everybody experiencing it, right? Because our agents, when the client's going out of business that we've worked with for 5 years, well, they've developed really deep, meaningful relationships with those workers in the US, right? Like they're friends, they're colleagues. A lot of guys have came out to visit the office and stay out there. We let anybody come out that wants to at any point in time, and even have condos for them to stay in so they don't have to pay for rent. But it's sad to watch that because it's you see both sides of it. But yeah, it's been a really interesting year because the ups and downs are hard to map out. We should be way grateful that we did grow revenue wise, but we were just so far off on projections and spent so much money on asset acquisition that we never used that it put us in a bind, right? But we're fine now. Luckily, we're not a company that had debt. We cash flowed everything from the ground up and bootstrapped it. So now we have multiple server rooms and 24,000 square feet of office space and about just over 800 stations. So we've just cash flowed it. And luckily we did. I think if we had financing groups or something else, it would be a little harder to navigate, but it's been easy for us because of that. So that's been kind of a blessing in disguise, having to bootstrap it, right? Seems like the people that have relied on funding sources and cash injections are suffering. And luckily we never did that. And I would say that was out of accident, not intention. It's just hard to find funding and support.
Out of straight honesty, Austin's being pretty nice there, but being his friend before I was even part of the organization, I saw what he's doing when he's building this company, and when he says bootstrap it, like this dude, everything but like eating the bugs out of the dirt to survive. Definitely paid the cost. Like it's amazing, and it's not egotistical to say that anyone else can be in the space. That's fine, bring it, and we're friends with a lot of them that decide to be so. But like the sacrifices on his own behalf, and then also to make sure that it's a good environment for agents and our growth is amazing. And we're friends, so like I'm not looking for a pay raise when I say this. Like, but I really I admire what he's done to be able to create it to this point. And one thing that he won't ever say himself is, excuse me, when he worked for a previous company in the Philippines, there was some partnership stuff as he was an employee at that point that first brought him out there. That didn't go as planned, or maybe some partnerships weren't perfect. Anyway, Austin came back to the United States. I had a call center doing credit card processing at that time. I hired this guy that looked like, if I can say it, homeless Jesus. But really just came in as a caller, and then I realized quickly, like, oh crap, this guy's way better than me. Like, he could have my job. But we grew a awesome enterprise there, and but he kept saying, basically, don't get your hopes up. I eventually will get back to the Philippines because I want to create opportunity and I want to do good. And that sentiment, and I know it sounds cheesy, but creating opportunity and doing good. He's proudly married to a Filipino with 2 kids, and is not integrated into the community that as a country, but even the community that we work in, and has done a fantastic job on that. So the idea of getting there, creating opportunity, and doing good every single time, if we follow basically those best practices of create opportunity and do good, we keep doing good. And I know that sounds really cheesy, but Austin's been an awesome leader on that.
Well, I think what you're describing is like, well, okay, walk the walk. Obviously, if you're in this industry and you have big stuff in the Philippines, I mean, you gotta spend time there. There's so many people that try to get in that they just think it's a drop shipping, business model. They don't have to go there. So walking the walk. But almost what you're describing is just like having another motivation for doing something other than money, right? And that's why the solar coaster kicks so many people out, because a lot of people are here just for money. I've been in solar for 11 years. You think I've made money every single year? No. And I admit it because I love it. I just, there's something about it, especially on the tech and the software and the remote side of things. Like if I was in this and I just for making money, I would have been out probably 56 times at this point. So if you have that extra thing, you need that to bootstrap. Only us absolute maniacs with, something other than money in our heads can bootstrap a company and build something up from the ground one and keep getting up when we're put down. But if you're just based off of money, which the majority of people in solar unfortunately are, one little solar coaster bump happens and you're gone to the next person that offers you a $50,000, $60,000 salary working at some other job just because you can't put up with it. I think that's what it sounds like to me.
Absolutely. And I could say, like, part of this sounds like pinning a ribbon on my nose, but like I was less available earlier today because I brought down 36 basketball nets to be putting on hoops and stuff in the community, and talking to the mayor, I'm like, well, I get it. I kind of hate the third world country thing because statistically that's only based on how many people there are versus vehicles they own, which is, especially in the Philippines, is crappy.
Isn't it from
like, you wouldn't even want a car, you want a moped or a scooter.
Wasn't that whole classification system based off of the early 1900s of who joined what side of the war?
There was that, and then it went it went to the vehicle per capita. But just
classification.
Just even seeing that, like, I love what I do outside of what I do. Seeing that, being able to confidently, and this sounds cheesy, but be able to, talk to our local mayor here and go, for the kids, if they ever wondered why swoosh was on Nike, well, they wouldn't really articulate that if they didn't know by not having a net on their basketball hoop, right? And so, like, being here and being able to not just create opportunity but do good, it's awesome. And again, it sounds like I'm fluffing up here, Austin, but like we had good growth in the Philippines organically for multiple years, and he really propped up the youth sports side of it, which wasn't marketing. I think is absolutely genuine, and we love it and stick to that standard.
Love
You
it.
said, being primarily in California and then in the solar industry. Have you guys diversified more now outside California and also outside solar? Are you guys trying to get more industries, or are you just still hyper focused on solar?
Yeah, we're definitely making intentional efforts to get into other industries for sure. Roofing, definitely home security as well. That's a little bit, we have backgrounds there, so it's a little easier for us to kind of reach out and network that way. But what's kind of funny that happens organically is when people are leaving the solar industry, they're actually taking their agents with them. So we got one client last week that was 7 customer service agents for a plumbing company based out of, I think it's Nevada, if I'm not mistaken. And there was no intention to do that, right? But just because they had such a good relationship with their agents, when the company they were managing went out of business, well, they brought everybody over to the new industry that they transitioned to too, right?
It's
And so
cool.
that's been kind of,
That's better than just leaving them in the dark because they have such good relationships with them. So that's not bad, is it?
yeah,
Yeah,
no, it's
yeah, and
not bad at all.
I can actually speak real time to real time scenario that I was on the phone call with yesterday and today. Client that was hyper focused on solar found his way into an opportunity. His wife always wanted to maybe be a site person at an RV park, and they were like, we aligned ourselves with this company that has like 30 RV parks. They need customer service agents, and they onboarded 10 agents with us. Basically, hi, Mr. Moose. What type of RV do you have? Do you want to pull through? Do you need a 30 or 50 amp, etc.? The typical questions, but being a guy that has owned a lot of RVs and camped in them a lot, you can't ever get a hold of anyone. And I'm like,
I was going to say that. It is
yeah, I'm like,
so difficult to get hold of the RV parks.
I know. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not in good light in front of my friend and superior with Austin. I was like, shoot, dang, I should have thought about that. Like, that is the perfect case use of what we have available, and it'll be awesome. And they have 30 different resorts, and that 10 agents will probably be, I think, in a calendar year, probably 90 to 120 agents strong. So it's cool, and that's to add to one of the things that Austin was saying is, with a lot of the shifts in the market, it's really easy to, and no fault on you, Moose, for mentioning solar coaster, but it is a solar coaster. Yeah, trust me, we know we felt the hurt, but at the same point, in like a 2 to 3 month kind of lag time, I'm very much in the impression, and I'm very optimistic about it, in the fact that we just have a shifting in market share, and that shifting in market share can come very much in the people that are integrated with, say, company A and end up at company XYZ, or maybe they share the same role and realize the experience they had in with us and bring it to theirs, like with the camping thing. So it's a speed bump. It's not a dead end for us, and that's actually been really optimistic and cool to see from our side. And I wish I actually, out of our entire company, I get the greatest pleasure of being on all the intro calls and initial intros with everybody when they're talking about, okay, well, I'm looking for this, I want to grow. And a lot of, whether it's account management, our directors, whatever, they might be hearing the gloom and doom of like, well, we might have to be getting rid of people, and that's their day to day. I just see sunshine, rainbows, and unicorns, and everything's awesome. So little bit unfair to hear it just straight from me. But if anyone in the solar industry has any woes, give me a ring. I'll tell you the sun's bright on the other side.
Well, we
Yeah, we're
got
definitely
home.
seeing a lot of groups grow, which is funny too. It's like they're either downsizing, but there's probably 30 to 40% of our clients that grew by a good percentage. They weren't the biggest, the ones that grew. It was kind of the small to medium sized companies. It seems like the guys that were trying to build out vertically, or the sales orgs that were trying to leverage a little more of their volume to control a little bit more of the process, right? But there's definitely people fighting through it, and that's really fun to see.
Causes
Well, and
innovation, right? You know what I mean? Like in tough
right.
times, innovative processes always win over. So you'll see all the big guys start falling by the wayside, and all the little guys who have been fighting tooth and nail have found processes out of maybe desperation, which is
Yeah.
usually me. I'm usually the little guy that finds the innovative thing out of desperation, and then it works. But that's exciting because the top
Yep.
guys, oh, it's doom and gloom. The little guys are like, holy, this is amazing. Look at this blue ocean available to us. So it's just a
No,
cycle.
Josh, that's awesome to mention because I actually, Moose, if you remember, we talked about this a little bit after SolarCon and talking about like how's the event been for you? Like how's it been going?
Yeah.
And I remember in our conversation, I kind of led into the fact that this year is different. Um, we had an awesome experience, no doubt. But our traffic flow, our movement, and everything in SolarCon was different in a way that they weren't trying to figure out who we are, what we are. Um, there was almost an immediate need of like, okay, I think I've kind of heard about you guys, but how do I need you? And then,
Mm.
furthermore, on my acquisition calls, we get clients that are coming in, and the most simplistic way I can put it is people being creative, or however you mentioned it, Josh, on saying in less words, basically, I need to make more out of less. So if less deals are going through the pipeline, I need to make more off of it, and whether that be a financing angle, or if I have less deals, I need more of them to go through the pipeline. Permitting has been a huge gain for us throughout this last year of going like, oh crap, you can have a lot of sales, but guess what? That doesn't buy the chicken. You know, you got you got to get it through the goal line, and so that's been pretty cool to see. And there's some of the big guys that have been hit with whether it's financing angles or other that hit them hard that they couldn't figure out. But then I think it's the small to middle guys that we're seeing really big growth with, saying, all right, state guidelines or federal guidelines in this area kind of changed, but a bunch of people bounce out of this area. So how do we capture this market, and how do we make our deals more sticky? So that's been honestly definitely to our benefit. But if we looked at it by month, we would still be the gloom and doom people. If we look at it with like a 2 or 3 month lag on how the market shifts, I'm yeah, it's actually what's squeezing the hair out of my head because I'm smiling so hard. So
I think even like you got to always look in solar or anything these days like years ahead. Like if I looked at right now and said, especially if I was a sales rep that didn't know any better, that's never been through the solar coaster before, I don't know if I'd be able to look past where we're at now. And I'd be listening to guys like me and guys like you that's been in the industry for a bit and said, "Oh, hold on, man, this is about to get real good. This is going to get really interesting." And I would just say, "Oh, come on, give me a break." But after being in this industry for 11 years, like it's impossible not to get excited about the future, even when crazy stuff happens right now. Because this industry, I just shared an image into our community the other day, where in terms of specifically solar and rate increases, and the past 6 months, if you take a look at a graph of the utility rate requests that have happened over the past 20 years, it goes 2000, 2008, 2009, little blip, 2010, 2000. 2023 hockey stick, tripled the amount of requests compared to the 2008 financial crisis from the utility companies, right? So, and those, a lot of them haven't hit yet. So you're looking at this industry over like a few weeks and you're like, oh, this isn't going well. You look out, even just 6 months, and it's very difficult to not get more excited than I ever have been over a decade in this industry, right?
That's awesome, Josh. I come across a little bit jaded. My intro into the solar industry was, Austin can fact check me, but I think it's 2000, was it 11, 12? Anyway, I was part of the first few guys that were part of this. I don't know on the podcast if I can even say names, but this orange company on their first solar venture. The worst you see it right now is 10 times better than what sold me the dream when I was there then. And so I'm like, stop complaining. Like, let's just like put our boots on and go back to work. Yeah, I loved it then. I love it now, and grateful to still be in the industry because as far as I've seen, I think the sun's not going away. So I think we're good.
I think the big groups actually, while we're talking about it, it's pretty fun to see the big groups that are sticking around. I think are the ones that have spent the last, I don't know, I could say 3 to 10 years probably, focusing not just on recruiting, but more bringing people into sales, introducing them to door. If they're not starting in security, they're starting in solar, but maybe, you know, they don't know about red lines and stuff, but it's just more about introducing people to sales and career potential. And the groups that have done that and focused on, you know, combining recruiting and training from the ground up, the larger ones have done really, really well, it seems like, if they focused on those departments.
Well, and seeing the lateral movement that you don't necessarily, if you take the security, for example, I did security for a little bit. Honestly, I call myself a one-hit wonder. Set some records, but wasn't sustainable for my life and my family. I got 3 girls, and but besides that, the lateral movement and kind of referral network that you get out of that is nothing like solar. Like, okay, maybe you got an automation guy that also wants to integrate home security. Cool. But you look at solar, and hence the reason of the interest in roofing, prospectively, because that all that can be tied in, energy management, all those different things, which are there's multiple ways to get into it. And what I like about it is there also can be a whole hell of a lot of part-time solar guys or part-time referral partners that support the solar industry. I can't say that about pest control and security and otherwise. So I think the lateral growth is going to be pretty fantastic to see and see whose hands it lands in.
Yeah, without a doubt.
We got Homesourced in the house. We got Austin Anderson and Zach Brown. These guys are doing the staffing, home sourcing staffing for solar companies from after the sale to before the install. Did I get that right?
Yeah, we don't sell it, we don't install it, we do everything in between, and outside of that, it's roofing
We do
and etc.
job inspection, inverter mapping, so a little bit after the fact, I guess, too, if you're going to get technical.
That's dang it, that's true. Fact check.
All right. I got a devil's advocate question here, just to throw at you. There's people out there thinking in their head, you know, this sounds interesting. I'll do it, but wait, I could just do this myself. I can just go on this app or get this from, you know, call, one of these Fivers up Five, whatever they're called, and just do it myself. And maybe I could do it cheaper, or maybe, I don't know, is that a route people should go, or should they're wasting their time with that? What are kind of some of the bumps and bruises that may not know they're going to go through?
Austin, do you want to take this or me?
Go first.
Could I give
I'll
my
follow.
experience? Really good one.
Well, I
Yeah.
like the fact
Go
you
ahead.
said Fiverr up or something like that, which
Wherever
is
they are,
combining a
yeah.
couple different entities together. That was amazing. Um, well, simply put, as I talk with our clients, is um, number one, if you hire a single agent, so we don't limit you. We're not sitting there saying, okay, we'll take 10 agents or more. If you have one single agent, when you hire a single agent, you have an army. If you go through some of these websites, um, number one, you're integrating through a portal that's going to connect you with people that are likely plenty capable of doing your task. In our space, and what makes us unique in the BPO industry is if you hire Anne for, let's say, proposal writing, uh, every single time you pick up the phone or get on a Google Meet, it's Anne. Anne is also working the hours that you set forth as your employee. So our integration to regular employment standards is what makes us unique. Outside of that is it's not just Anne. Um, Here domestically, we have account managers that, as you onboard an agent, you have every week in the first month, you have check-ins to make sure that everything's going right. After that, you have monthly visit with the domestic account management, make sure still things are being handled as you expected. And then overseas, you have a director, and that director is everything that you would normally expect out of what you would do as an employer here on making sure that they're on time. They handle their days on, days off, holiday pay, etc. And then with our vast knowledge and bandwidth in the industry, we have a myriad of different levels of experts, whether it, regarding the role, whether it be permitting or CAD design, etc., that can speak to that intelligently, and that's helped us a lot grow in even like the CRM and software
That's
spaces,
huge.
just because
Oh
we
yeah.
can confidently say that we not only know, but we're probably the experts on specific softwares and developments there. So, um, so it's much more than hiring a person for a role. You're hiring an army. You're just not paying for the army. So we are more than the $3 for sure. I try not to hang our hat on just the cost savings alone. Austin and I have broke down the analytics a million times over, and we found that just our non-domestic agents can reliably prove 30 to 36% more productivity than, and I'm not American hating here, just basically based on work ethic and otherwise, 36% more effective in their roles. So a lot of numbers, but hopefully that's a good answer for you, Mr. Moose.
And
I
there's something that I'll go for it, Austin.
sure. Go. You're
Well,
good.
I was
I'm
just
excited
going
to hear what you
to
have to
say,
say.
like, because there's a piece to going on these other platforms and trying to find good people that no one understands. So number one is you are going to a platform. You're either going to these other platforms or going to Homesourced. So you are going to a platform, and that platform is making money off of that. The difference is that's an automated software that has no one that you're talking to help you actually recruit those people. So you're solely and wholly responsible of finding a needle in a haystack. That haystack, however, is very difficult to get through. Those platforms, a majority of them operate off of massive agencies that hire or pay a billion people. You may speak to eventually someone down the line that's actually going to do the work, but you're probably speaking to an agency owner or manager that's actually just going to pass that task off to someone random that you've never met before in order to do it. Also, you'll find that on these platforms, I've experienced it so much, they'll try to front as someone that's local. So they'll put a name, they'll put a profile picture. I once talked with this guy. He said he's from Vancouver. I'm from Vancouver. So I got on the call with him. One, he had an accent, but we have a lot of, foreigners in Vancouver. Okay, fair enough. So I asked him, where in Vancouver are you from? It says you're from Vancouver. I don't really, this is time, and this is what they do. It's a game. They're gamifying that system. So it is I don't think it's even in the same ballpark, right? Of going and finding someone for $3 an hour and expecting them to do a job. Now, we talked about work ethic, yeah, but you're going to have to pay more than $1.50 an hour to find those. They're going to be cost effective, but it's a lot of people have this idea in the head that they can find someone for $2-3 an hour and perfectly do a task if they give them a sheet of things to do, and that's not the case. That's not how it works.
Well,
yeah, those are my thoughts with my experience on platforms.
That's super awesome, Josh. But I'm not the admin on this call. But I was gonna shut you off because it looks like you're out for my job, as well as you explained it. But that's true. And then outside of productivity, outside of the cost, our really good clients understand the value in being engaged with our agents. We're not a nonprofit in any way. We're not trying to represent that, but there is so much good and gratitude on being integrated and part of our agents' lives that when stuff is really tough with work, but you're employing people that want it, need it, and you see the impact that it makes. The entire company, we're 1,200 people strong now, almost 1,000 in the Philippines, and 250 plus employees. I'm known as the crier. I'm happy to wear my emotions on my sleeve, and deeply value those relationships that we have. And so you kind of get this added bonus at the end that you're not just giving money away, but you're giving opportunity to people that actually want it. And if anyone's been self-employed and have had people that are working for you that truly value their employment, you know what I'm talking about. And if you can do that on a mass scale, that's where we're super blessed where we're at. So
This is a big topic, and I could give you a lot of information on it. And Zach doesn't like this question as much because I think he famously says he's got to become the adult in the room in a lot of different settings.
that's true.
And when he came on as the CRO, he was really solidifying a business model that we could have, that we could present as like a retail storefront almost, right? But on the back end, I'm very committed to not doing what we do now in the future. So we have 4 or 5 different models that we're testing. We're setting up an affiliate link program. We're setting up, I guess we're actually running an affiliate program. We're running a reselling program. We're running a cost plus program. What else are we doing? We're doing another program called POC, where it's actually, we're bringing somebody on that wants to grow kind of their own BPO, and they just get a set amount per person on their team, right? So,
and also additionally, there's like an adoption program where if someone is currently working with, like, say, someone in Bangladesh or another part of the Philippines, but they like our support, we also
figure it out.
yeah, we'll bring our leadership in and manage those people remotely too if they don't want to get rid of them. So just another side point.
Yeah, I've tried to figure out who our competitors are. I don't think we're big enough to say that we actually really have competitors. We're still too small. Revenue wise, we're projected to be around 13 million this year, right? But when you talk about a Convergys that just like did a big roll up and they have 500,000 employees worldwide, outsourcing is a massive $1 billion industry. It's a different type of beast. I think when you try to put it in a box, there's not a box that it can be put into. And so, like, I love sending people to onlinejobs.ph. I love sending people to the Haystacks, to what Josh was referring to. because it makes it so complicated. And even a big difference between how me and Zach are doing it, Zach came on and he's taken the reins to create our model on how we interface with the public. But for me, when I started it, I got 49 clients before Zach came on that were all organic referrals. But I emphasized strategizing. There was no real effective cost model. Like, we just made things work for people, right? And made sure the jobs were sustainable. And so it's fun because I keep going back and forth on thinking that we have competitors or we don't, or it's just all this massive ecosystem. It feels like somebody's really trying to figure it out still. And then when you start putting the international laws, money transfers, money laundering, all that crap to make something like this work, it gets really complicated. I had a friend that just had to declare bankruptcy in the Philippines that I would send clients to if they didn't meet the compliance guidelines that we operate in, because they're still blurred, right? And she just had to declare bankruptcy. It was really hard to watch her go through it, where she just lost her home and her car and everything else. And, she had 25 agents by the time she couldn't cash flow whatever she was dealing with anymore. But it's something to figure out still. And there's really not a solution there immediately. People can definitely grow their own staff if they want to, but if they want to go and register their own company, and if they want to be legal, if they want to protect their data, it's going to be complicated. But if you want to just have somebody to do labor for you and make it cost effective, you can do it. But then even in the short run, you'll find that there's going to be a massive financial halt with how much money you could send internationally overseas through remittance programs. Like, we hit max limits on Western Union. When we climbed from $20,000 to $50,000 that we were sending over Western Union to the Philippines over 1 month, Western Union just shut me down, blacklisted my social, and said, you have to be fraud with how quickly you started sending more and more money over. Right. So we're doing Western Union at first. Now we just do business to business transfers to different business accounts. But like, you hit limits really fast. You'll start seeing your first limit at 5,000 a month. You'll see the second at 10,000, 20, and then 60,000. And to actually grow a sizable organization, it takes almost like 6 months to a year just to have the financial credibility to work in the international, I would say almost the international communication portals. Like, even with the different bank accounts that we have on the US side, you can see that Chase Bank has all these custom fields, if you were to call it an online CRM, right? Where you can actually put specifically what the money's using for, and we get same day transfers immediately. But we go to another larger one like Wells Fargo, and they don't have near the amount of information that you need to put in to get a same day money transfer through, right? Or ACH, I guess, wire ACH, whatever you want to call it. But it's like, it's complex to do it at scale. It's easy to do it up to 5 to 10 agents. And if you're committed to it, you can get up to 30 to 50 agents and figure out systems. And when that starts happening, when people get to the 30 to 50 person range, you're wiring money straight to personal accounts that people are actually paying taxes on the entire wire, even on behalf of the others, So then it gets really convoluted. But it's definitely a mess to get up to the 30 to 50 person point. But at any other side, I think it's good for people to know how it works on like onlinejobs.ph and Fiverr. Those are the two popular sites that I push people to get some exposure to it. But when they actually have to consider the liabilities, they have to think about stockholders that they're representing, securities and compliance, then it turns into a very different beast at that point. But I'm definitely trying to figure out how we progress to the point that we're losing margins so we can keep pushing scale, because the companies that are in outsourcing, their eyes are on, million plus employees worldwide. That's kind of where the big BPOs are leaning towards right now, that they're not really a serious financial institution or player in the globe until they're probably in the million person plus employee range. And they're dealing with all the international employment contracts and labor law, all of that stuff. It gets so convoluted so fast. In the Philippines, for example, you have 24 paid holidays compared to 5 in the US. people in the US feel like they're getting nickeled and dimed when somebody starts demanding money for a holiday that, their government's saying you have to actually pay for. And so when you try to interface with somebody as an independent contractor, it gets really hard too. And then a lot of countries are starting to make laws. So the Philippines has laws since 2018 that states if you hire an independent contractor, you actually have to pay for the contributions and taxes and all of that stuff. But they can't enforce it. They're not going to go across country lines and arrest you for not paying taxes and contributions for the person you decided to hire as an independent contractor, right? So it's just a very weird scenario altogether. And the geopolitics make it even more confusing, right? It's when you start
and
getting
that's something that I didn't even know how to take it when Austin was laughing at me, openly laughing at me. But even here in Belize, when I said no, well, not today. That's something different. I'm just kidding. But even setting up bank accounts here in Belize. I left my wife and my 3 kids, and it's like, well, I need to go down there and get some banking stuff done. When you coming back? I'm like, it's probably like a week. And then after 3-4 days, I'm like, my wife's like, when you coming back? I was like, babe, when it's done. And some of those are the sacrifices, and I don't need a ribbon on my nose here, but like, yeah, it was over 2 months just for our first one. And I'm still now in Belize, still working on our second other bank. There's only 2 major banks here. And even with favor of being really close with the guy that runs basically the equivalent of our Federal Reserve, it still is not easy. So there's a lot of that stuff that Austin, I don't know whether he sent me to the wolves or not, but was interesting to to deal with and navigate through. The if you're going to do it and do it right, and that to Josh's question, that's another thing that actually makes us totally different. Is we are playing by all the rules. The government and local municipalities highly integrated with them on both countries. So, yeah, you can get $3 an hour. And actually, maybe that was Joe's question. I can't remember, but either way, like, yes, you can get that. Do you want it done? Do you want it done right? Absolutely. We'll hang our hat on that all day long and happy about it.
Well, you're talking about knowing who your competitors are and knowing if there even are competitors. One I'm thinking of is one of my favorite assistants I use, artificial assistants or artificial AI. And right now, obviously, I don't think it's really a competitor, but in the future, I'm sure it could become one. Are you guys looking at AI or maybe implementing it, or is it a competitor? What do you think?
It's the natural progression.
And honestly, we knew AI probably before AI knew AI anything. And that sounds arrogant, but that's a common question that seems like, oh man, so are you going to be without a job? I wish I could name drop the software companies that rely on us for AI verification.
Do it.
Because it's still not 100%
there's
effective.
7 solar companies we've modeled and mocked up their AI and refined it off of our employees, right? And everybody gets replaced by AI. It's not just outsourcing, it's everybody, right? Like the world as we know it is going to end or change dramatically. And so it's funny when people compare the two, because outsourcing is really rapidly building AI, especially with engines like with ABC and Meta. All of the feedback, all of the logarithms, all of the inputs, they come from people overseas, not from people in the US.
Yep. I mean, AWS, the self-checkout system was It's a bit overhyped. I don't know if you guys saw on the news a week or two ago. Everyone that
AWS?
knows that type of system knew it was happening, but they built that entire framework, that the AI framework in India, from people reviewing videos and saying they bought this product, they bought this product. That's how you create these models. You have to have a ton of labor doing manual reviews and pretty much telling the model, yes, this happened. Yes, no, this didn't happen. So it is, it's
Yeah, and to your point, Josh, just like to make it super clear, we are not afraid of AI. We embrace AI, and
Yeah.
we are partners in so many ways currently, and hope to be more currently with other avenues that'll represent that we can't even have the words to say right now because it hasn't been created. So
we do get agent trauma and freak out moments where somebody will be offended that they're losing their job to AI. Like, we see that though, right? But we facilitate it. And that's the fairest way you could engage, because if you approach a company with outsourcing jobs overseas and you're not willing to replace yourself in some way, you're fighting against like the nature, the order of nature, right? Like it's going to happen eventually, somehow, some way. And so I spend a lot of time coaching our staff through, like, guys, it's pretty hypocritical to celebrate getting a job from somebody in the US and then throwing a massive fit because you lost your job to AI. It doesn't add up. Like, if you're not going to be okay on both sides of it, you're not going to be an effective person. Like, humanity is pushing it that way, and you're either going to facilitate it or not. And if you get stuck on it replacing you, you're not going to be able to stay in the job market, right? And so we definitely see that, and we fight that on our side, which is funny that a lot of people don't see. But I think that's where the rumors and the fears kind of come back to us, because you do have plenty of people overseas that talk about those fears to people that they trust. And then when it starts getting pushed into organizations, it's interesting to see how much fear it can incite. With proposal writing, we did 700,000 proposals last year, but our staff from 2.5 years ago, we were probably 54 to 60% proposals. Now we're only about 22% of our staff does proposals. But compared to 2.5 years ago, we're now over 900 employees. Back then, we would have been probably around 300. And so we see the staff shrink when people start, if they're investing their savings that they get from outsourcing into technology, then that technology is going to lower the need for staffing, right? And that's how you just keep capitalizing it. You keep rolling your money, and you have to be there to cheer for it, to support it, or else like the client's not going to want to work with you in the long run. But if you do that, they always find a place to put their agent next, because the employees that employers want to keep around are the ones that are supporting their decisions, right? And so we try really hard to make sure our staff is celebrating, innovating, supporting any type of technology that comes through, because as long as they're doing just that, at the end of the day, the employer is going to come back and say, hey, let's keep working with you. Let's take on another project. Let's start another company. And that happens as long as you maintain the status quo, you maintain your integrity and your mindset, right? It just rolls naturally. But the people that don't excel in outsourcing fight really aggressively against AI. They're not advocates for it.
And really quick, just to add to this, because if it doesn't come up, and I know that we're over an hour here, but Moose, when you're originally asking about like what is Homesourced and who you are, the one thing that I always regret, not because I know it, I live it and breathe it, and it's really hard to I try not to forget it, is we're not here to try to cannibalize your domestic agents. So there's two ways to look at it. If you're growing and you have growing pains, but you can't figure out how to keep growing without a whole bunch more capital, maybe that's your answer. There's also, I kind of refer to this Excel spreadsheet type of mindset when you look at, hey, Moose is doing this job, and really the cap rate for his job in that role is X. Well, that means Moose is doing his job, and then he has supportive staff. And speaking all on the domestic side of it, if you're here and your supportive staff is here, maybe Moose is a brother-in-law or nephew or something, or just a really valued employee. You really don't want to get rid of Moose, but you keep building right here. When you can lower the bar on supportive staff and fortify, I would say, fortify the structure that helps your upper management domestically, rather than here, it's here. Now you can actually do things like candidly overpay Moose for his role because you've lowered the bottom line on that support structure. So that's another way of looking at like how our services can really help outside of I think a lot of people look at it through the scope of going, oh, I love my people, I wouldn't do that. It's like, love the hell out of your people, make them the managers, but just maybe don't hire the crap that isn't doing you any good, and let us manage them and help them out. So I know that was
Just
a little
to
bit of a diversion, but I would regret if I didn't say that out loud.
just to make sure we're clear, who do you want like reaching out to you? Is it solar installer, solar companies, roofing companies? Is it individuals too? Do you care, or is you just focus on the large teams?
I want everybody. I think Zach's got a specific client in mind, but I love the interaction and just business building, right? But
What do you think, Zach?
how about you, Zach? He's thinking.
Is he back?
All I hear is laughter, but I was getting an
Go ahead,
incoming
Zach.
call. So were you guys
Oh,
talking?
you didn't hear his
crap about me?
question?
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Are you
I was
being
just
funny?
asking.
No, I was getting a call and I couldn't shut it up.
Oh,
So, who do you want reaching out to you? Is it solar installer, solar companies, large teams? Do you want individuals too? Who would be your client you're looking for?
This sounds super generic, Moose, but honestly, everybody. We want your one client. We want your 10 clients. If you're a dentist and you want after hours call support, like I mentioned, we have this new RV park model that should soon be thriving. So honestly, get pissed off enough that you're sick and tired of dealing with what you have. Identify your pain points, and likely or unfortunately, maybe you'll have a call with me. I always take the front end stuff and try to isolate like what's wrong, what's hard, how can we help, and go from there. So there really isn't any limitation. So like we talked about roofing, I promise you, Moose, I don't have a guy.
oh, broke up again.
Sorry, you hear me? I said I don't have a guy that's going to put nails on the roof. Um, but proposals and you know, cost breakdown, this and that, like we'll do all that. So there really is, honestly, the giant ones. It always seems like with the size of our organization, people are like, "Oh, so what do I have to have? Like 50 or 100 employees?" I'm like, honestly, I have more faith in you from 1 to 5. The 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 50 to 100 hurt us worse if you made a big bet and it hurts us. And the cool thing is, and under basically Austin's creation of the company is our low barrier of entry. So I kind of joke about it because I said it's as good as the napkin it's written on, but people come on with the 30-day agreement, and if it's not good for you, it's not good for us. And so that's good. And then we're not asking for any money down. If you start in the first of this month, it's not till the first of next month that you get your first single bill, and we've already paid 2 payrolls before you even get a bill. So that shows to the confidence of what we bring to the table.
All right. Before we go, what's the best way? Anybody wants to reach out to you, they want to connect, so they just call Austin, or no, just call Zach, message you, email you. What's the best way?
Well, it definitely is me. I mean, you can check out our website at Homesourced, and then there's a D at the end of that. So HOMESOURCED.com. And I'm Zach, ZACH, at homesource.com. All the intro calls and all the initial chit chats go through me. Which, if you watch this, I'm not short of words, and that's probably why my voice is hoarse as well. But happy to do it. And then we go from there. And you can also email me at zach@homesource.com. And if you want a little bit more information, I'd be happy to send you some dialogue, some video, next steps, etc. So you just happen to be blessed with Austin on the call. It's kind of a big deal.
Let's go. That's homesourced.com. Don't forget to put the D at the end, baby. Josh King, anything else, bro?
Love it. But before I go, Austin, is that a Pac-Man game behind you? What is it?
I think that one's Marvel superheroes, actually.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I was looking at that. I'm like, I didn't even catch that. Well,
I like all
that's all for
things
me.
superhero.
Marvel.
Yeah. So sometime we'll have you guys up to Utah, and I can walk you through what I call his nerddom. His nerddom.
Belize,
he's
Philippines,
retracted
or
the Belize
Utah.
offer. Now we're going to Utah.
Yeah, well,
Yo,
it'll be a full tour.
Clickbait.
Okay, sounds
Bait
good.
switch.
No, we
Awesome.
appreciate you guys, and Joe, just personally, we really appreciate relationship and connectivity that you have. This isn't a SolarCon event here, but the relationship we've had with you and the rest of the staff, we're immensely grateful for, and yeah, respect you in the industry a ton, because you've done a ton for it, and probably don't always get the handshakes and pat on the heads. So thank you.
Appreciate
and
that.
Josh, I'd give you more of those, but you have too good a hair. I wouldn't pat you on the head.
All right. Well, maybe after you see me scuba dive, I'm not a novice. Maybe you can give me a pat on the head after that.
There you go.
I believe you, brother.
Awesome,
Appreciate you guys
guys.
being on
Thanks
Homesourced
very much.
in the house.
Thank you.
All right, guys. See you guys
Thank
later.
you.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Peace.
Bye.